I know it's late. Wait a minute. Action, sorry, it's on the wrong page. I thought we've done this one, excuse me. Oh, I got you. Threw me. I'm gonna call us back to order in public session. And I will entertain a motion for selected employment items as seen in Exhibit D. Mr. Lovelace.
Okay. I make the motion that we approve the selected employment items listed in Exhibit D, which is item 13A on tonight's agenda.
Do I have a second? Mr. Hogan, seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. And it carries 7-0. Let's see, employment, that one, E, that's information only. Employment matter regarding hiring for Chief Finance and Operations Officer position as seen in Exhibit F. Is there a motion? Mr. Lovelace.
I move that we authorize the superintendent to reorganize to create positions A and B as discussed in executive session, which is item 13C under tonight's agenda.
Do I have a second? Ms. Huddle seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote on that. 7-0, it carries. The next is request for instruction at a place other than school as seen in Exhibit G. Do I have a motion? Ms. Gardner.
I move that we approve the request for instruction at a place other than school as shown in Exhibit G.
Do I have a second? Mr. Hogan seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll have a vote on that motion. 7-0, motion carries. Now, I need to add, discussion agenda, because we've done 14, right?
Yes, sir.
We've done
yes,
that.
ma'am.
Okay, so proposed Lexington County stormwater user fee update and your own. Mr. Cannon.
Ms. Hammond, this evening, Mr. Cannon, our Director of Facilities and Operations, is here to give us an update of some information that's occurring in Lexington County. We felt it was important to make sure the board was aware of this for their discussion. Mr. Cannon.
Thank you, Dr. Melton. This is an update from Lexington County against, they are proposing a stormwater utility fee. They had their first hearing on November 4th. It's kind of for information only for their council. It was noted during that meeting that this plan is still under development, but I felt like I needed to bring to the board the potential impact this could have to District 5. So this would be a fee that gets implemented on 2021 tax bills. The initial discussion we got notified in October was looking at $4 to $8 per month for a residential property. So how does that translate to non-residential or school property? What they're doing is they're considering a residential property have approximately 2,800 square feet of impervious area, so rooftop, driveway, things of that nature. And then I have an example on the slide there for you. For example, Irmo High School has about 1.2 million square feet of impervious area. You take that divided by 2,800, we get about 428 equivalent residential units, ERUs. At the November 4th meeting, they proposed $6.50 per ERU, so that translates to about $2,800 per month. The potential impact to our district is about $170,000 annually that we would have to pay. Lexington County is using these fees. They have about a $3 million stormwater budget today. They're looking to increase that to about $15 million per year for backlog of stormwater projects. There are credits available for non-residential properties. I've looked at some of those credits. Those credits and how those are calculated are still being developed. But I anticipate if things stay status quo, as a district, we could get somewhere between 10 to 20% credit on that $170,000 range. County Council is taking comments up to December 8th, which is their next council meeting. That's when they'll have their second reading and they will vote on this ordinance or utility fee. And right now they've got a final reading planned on December 22nd, but I've gotten indications that that may be delayed until January. The last slide you've got is a breakdown of kind of each school that falls within Lexington County and the potential impact on a monthly fee. And again, you'll see annually $170,000, just slightly north of that. One, I realized after I included this slide in the board packet, I did fail to include the old Alternative Academy. That would also be included. So I think I calculated that's about $2,500 more. So just slightly north of $172,000 is the potential impact for 2021 tax bill. That concludes my update, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Any questions? Thank you so much. That way we won't get blindsided. Now, that was on the agenda, that was 15, but we have an added agenda to discuss the step increase for teachers.
Yeah.
Do you want to, Mr. Lovelace, you want to?
Yeah, I made the motion to include that tonight because, well, first of all, our neighboring school district approved this. I think it was a month ago or thereabouts, the step increases for their employees. I wanted to, my impression is that, you know, we have employees who have earned this, and we need to take care of them. We need to show our support for them. We got people that are working umpteen hours and working hard. And I believe that in a district such as ours, that we should go ahead and include those as step increases. That's the reason I made the motion. I don't believe that leaving the issue till after Christmas would benefit us. I think the quicker we move on this, the more likely we are to have good success with it. I don't believe that postponing it for any reason, so therefore I wanted to put it on the agenda tonight for discussion so that we could approve that at the next board meeting if y'all so desire.
Thank you. I may need someone to provide a little clarification here, but it's my understanding that a step increase is a recurring cost. And I believe that what Mr. Lovelace is proposing is more along the lines of a bonus, which is a one-time cost. Either way, the step increase, as far as I know, is something that the General Assembly will take up again and revisit in January. And while I very much believe that our educators deserve compensation, especially in these times that we find ourselves in where they're working very long hours and they're facilitating two different learning methods, even that though we've moved into a 4-day process. I would just be cautious on how we term or phrase any particular increase or bonus, and make sure that we understand what a step increase is versus what a hazard or some type of $500, or I'm throwing out a number, some type of bonus, and how that actually impacts our budget, and if we have the money in reserves, or if obviously we didn't budget for a bonus in our annual budget, and we've had to revisit that because the step increases were not approved during session last spring, and they weren't approved in the summertime. So I know I'm new to this, but I may need some clarification from Mr. Richardson. I know it's really late. I'm sorry.
You have not left yet, Mr. Richardson. Don't you think about it.
That's just my feedback on that.
And I will let him answer that would you like me to go to Mr. White and then let Mr. Richardson?
Same question, and I think what just sort of put this in a little bit of context, step increases are mandatory, so we always give step increases. We have to. We always struggle to find it if there's not funding, unless the legislature waives it. So I guess I'm looking for some of the same clarifications. Because I think somebody said earlier that we weren't allowed to give a step increase, or the state didn't, you know, and so no pun intended, but first question I think is what Ms. Hines was asking, but clarify where we ended up with our step increase, where the legislature may be going, and I'm curious what this other district did. Are we talking about a request for a bonus? Then obviously, I mean, we're in the middle of a budget year, and y'all need to tell us, is that even something we can fund? And do y'all recommend it? I mean, everybody, I don't think anybody would disagree that teachers ought to get more compensation, but there's a lot behind that question.
Ms. Hammond, if I may, first, on behalf of the staff, I thank the board for this conversation and your acknowledgement of the work and the determination of our staff to make the 2021 academic year a success. When Mr. Richardson brought the original budget that the previous board approved, it was a request of the administration to have a step increase. And then when there was an update, according to what I remember reading and Mr. Richardson we've discussed, we were prohibited from the step increase. Although you weren't prepared, I see you got the presentation likely pulled up on your laptop, but I doubt you need it, Mr. Richardson, because your mind is a calculator itself. So, Ms. Richardson, as a point of clarification, if we are talking about a loyalty bonus, if we're consistent with what we've done in previous fiscal years, I don't know if you remember those details. At one point, we had consecutive number of years that maybe we could report, and then where we are currently, that if the board decides to go one route of a step increase versus a loyalty bonus, although you've not calculated a loyalty bonus, if they decide to go that route, perhaps if you would have an estimated value based upon the last loyalty bonus, and if you'll indicate the fiscal year of which that loyalty bonus was given, because that may increase or decrease depending on the number of staff. Are you comfortable with those questions this evening?
I am comfortable with all of them. However, you might have to remind me of all of those, but you just wanted me to take
I got it.
But let me back up real quick for you, just to kind of remind you what happened this year. You know, the state began the fiscal year without a state budget, obviously, and they did a continuing resolution. Well, they came back in September, and the Senate actually voted on a budget, provided an additional $50 million to education to pay for step increases for our teachers. As I mentioned earlier, it went to the House, and they did not take it up. So we're still operating under the continuing resolution. Part 2 of this continuing resolution, Section 4 of Part 2, actually suspends the step increases for teachers for the fiscal year until the General Assembly actually passes a budget. They are coming back in January, obviously, the second week of January, and it has been mentioned that if the revenue picture is not quite as dire as everybody predicts it will be, then they may do a supplemental Appropriations Act, which would require us to go back and make it retroactive to the beginning of the fiscal year, but that's contingent upon the revenue picture at the time, I think. So that's where we are. As far as what we've done as a district, you know, we suspended our, actually basically froze our spending towards the end of last year during the freeze. We were able to save quite a few $100,000 actually in energy costs, those type of things. So we're gonna have a very good end to last fiscal year to carry forward into this fiscal year. So it will give us funding for non-recurring items, but you're exactly right when you talk about step increase being a recurring item. That's going to be ongoing. So I would caution you right now to maybe not go that route, but look more at a bonus. I think we're in a better position for that right now. However, I do not have the crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen in this state. I think I've mentioned to you before that, you know, I lived through the downturn back in 2009 and 10, and it was not much fun. We had multiple budget cuts over several years. And so in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking about that, and some of the things I'm hearing about the potential recovery in the state is going to look more like a W. So we're going to have, you know, we've got the federal stimulus that's sort of propped our economy up right now, but then we're looking at maybe taking another nosedive since that's running out. So I'm still a little hesitant to tell you things are all rosy right now. So I would just caution you right now to think about spending that kind of money. Now, you asked me what the last bonus was. I think we've done a bonus in the last 3 fiscal years. It was not budgeted last fiscal year. We did it in the spring to the tune of about between $1.4 and $1.5 million is what it cost us to do a $500 loyalty bonus for all of our employees. And it's been in that neighborhood for the last 3 years. To do a step increase based on our current employees would cost us probably with friends somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.2, $2.3 million, which would be a recurring item going forward. Did I answer all of
And
those?
just to recap, the previous loyalty bonus was $500 per employee.
Correct.
We have offered that before Thanksgiving break in some fiscal years, and then for the last fiscal year, it was just before our spring break.
That's correct.
So it happened to be timed right around the COVID time when so many economic situations were changing in households for our employees, of spouses and others losing jobs. So we've timed it differently, because I heard Mr. Lovelace say the interest with timing and making a statement to our employees that if that's the route the board goes, we've proven that we can do it in different times or seasons of the fiscal operation. Ms. Hammond, if there are any other questions?
Any other questions? And I think, Ms. White?
So, I guess to Mr. Lovelace's question, can you recommend a loyalty bonus at this time of the year?
We were not prepared for that this evening. Mr. Richardson and I have talked about that several times, if that is something that we thought we could do. We have not brought that recommendation forward prior to this meeting because of hesitation and concern about what may occur. So of course we've been watchful, but that was something that we found out that the step increases were not going to be allowed, that we thought would be a statement of assurance to our staff of our appreciation as our B plan. But because of not knowing what's to be expected, we've not brought the board a recommendation for that. But certainly is something that we appreciate. Ms. Richardson, what would you like to add that maybe I have omitted?
No, I think you got it all.
Okay. I appreciate that, and this was for discussion. Okay, Ms. Huddle, I'm sorry, I didn't
I
see.
do have a question. So the step levels are set at the state level, correct?
For teachers, correct.
Right, and we pay higher than that, correct?
We do.
When was the last time that differential was adjusted? Has it been the same percentage or dollar amount for X years?
Yes, probably since about 1977, to be honest with you. It goes way back.
Okay.
And to throw a little bit of caveat in that, we pay so much above that, but we're required to maintain that amount above what the state requires on an annual basis as well,
Okay.
going forward.
And is it a percentage or is it a dollar amount at each
It's,
step?
well, depends on your interpretation of the law, I think, but right now we pay a percentage above what the state requires.
Okay.
And we also pay more people than the state requires, right? Don't we pay staff, even though the state may say there's certain designated people, so we actually.
Well, the state only requires us to do it with teachers, but obviously the board.
But we've done it
for
across
all
the
of our
board, for
employees.
all people, all staff.
Yeah.
Right.
And we've always done it for all the employees, hadn't we? And this
As
is-
far as I
it
know,
is-
yes.
Yeah, I remember.
At least for the 7 years I've been here, we have.
Right. I know it's late, so, and these people some people have to get up and go to work in the morning. I appreciate, Mr. Richardson, you helping us on that, and I certainly applaud our idea to reward teachers, and this just gave us this opportunity to, I think the big thing is whether it would be step, and I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed that the House and the Senate will end up, when they get back in session, I think they'll pass that. But if we would find the money and you bring to us, it could be done. I think it's a great gesture to be more like a bonus because of this COVID year, if we could do that. With that, I can't wait to hit this thing again. Is there a motion to adjourn? Yes, Ms. Gardner.
I move that we adjourn.
Do I have a second? Ms. Huddle, and Mr. Hogan too. We adjourned. That was 7-0, I'm sure.